Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to be planning out our March bullet journal for the upcoming month. So sit down, grab a cup of tea. Right now I'm drinking a beautiful caramel rooibos, so maybe grab one of those if you have it around or something else you really enjoy, and let's get into it. Last month I made this cover page for February that I really enjoyed. It's kind of a lazy bullet journaler's take on a cover page because, while as you just saw, the February cover page was all filled up with all these beautiful flowers, but I didn't actually draw that at the beginning of the month. I actually just wrote the word for the month, the first 3 letters, and then I just doodled in the florals whenever I had the time or felt like I wanted to kind of have a bit of a creative outlet for the day after a long day of work. So that's kind of what I'm showing you here. I decided to do the same thing for my March spread. I lettered the word March with a brush pen in the center of the page, and now I'm just showing you the kind of floral I would be drawing over the course of the month. This month I chose to do a kind of long oval shaped leaf. Whenever I choose leaves to draw in my bullet journal, they're never actually real leaves, if that makes sense. I always just kind of make things up and go with what I like the look of. I guess if that sounds kind of vain, sorry, but that's what I do. That's the process. And yeah, I really like this kind of long leaf. It was simple to draw, which I really liked because last month I went with a very intricate leaf and it took a very long time to draw my monthly spreads. And I do not like spreads that take a long time. I like to set my bullet journal up within half an hour ideally. So I wanted to kind of work in those boundaries this time, let's put it that way. So I'm just moving on to my monthly calendar. This is a vertical calendar, so I write every day of the month down the left side of the column, and then in the right column I write the day of the week. I just like to draw a line dividing them up down the middle. I don't use a ruler because I'm pretty comfortable with freehanding it. Fortunately, calligraphy practice causes a really steady hand as a consequence, and you get a lot better at freehanding, which is really nice. So now I'm just going ahead and drawing the same long oval-leafed floral on this monthly calendar. I really like this setup because I do like to save 2 pages for my monthly calendar, but because of the vertical style of this spread, you don't really need more than 1 page to actually allocate towards that part of the spread. But because I generally like to use 2 pages for my tasks and my notes, I always kind of had this weird situation where I had 3 pages of my monthly calendar that I needed to set up, but then naturally a notebook is 4 pages, 2 to each spread, so I wasn't really sure kind of how to do it. But I do actually really like this setup for this calendar this month. I think it's a really nice balance of white space, but still kind of incorporating a bit of botanical drawing practice, since that is something I'm trying to work on developing that skill this year. So I just decided to do some vertical line shading on the first floral, and pretty much the purpose of doing that is to add contrast to the drawing so that when I draw the second leaf behind the first branch of leaves, it looks different and it's not kind of confusing or like overloading to the eyeballs, the eyes. So yeah, I actually find as a floral newbie, here's a floral newbie drawing tip: draw in the stem first before you draw in the leaves. I also find something else that's helpful is when you start drawing a new floral for the first time, don't be afraid to use pencil and erase often if you don't like the way something looks. I always find at the beginning of the month when I try a new floral, I don't always super love the way it looks, but as the month progresses and I get more practice, I really like how it looks by the end of the month. So what tends to happen is at the beginning of the month, I'm doing a lot more pencil sketches and erasing because I haven't had a lot of practice with the leaf, and then by the end I'm usually just freehanding it with pen because it's a bit more natural. So I'm just finishing up those last couple of leaves, and then I decided to actually go in again with a fine liner. I use fine liners for all of my writing and drawing in this journal because the pages do ghost quite a bit, and I was just adding a little more line shading, and I did that with a thin fine liner. I think it was an 005 nib. Okay, so next we are going into the second spread for my monthly kind of calendar pages, and this is my tasks and my notes page. On the left-hand side, I like to reserve that mainly for tasks that I either need to do during the month. I also like to write due dates for grad school here for some reason. I know it's not like a task, but in my mind it's associated with a task because there's a lot of tasks that need to happen in order for me to meet the due date, I guess. And then on the right side in my notes page, I like to reserve that for space for any type of brainstorming I need to do. I like to write down the schedule for the Toronto Maple Leafs hockey games because I do like to keep up with that, and just kind of simple things like that. By the way, a fun little hack if you're drawing or writing on the edge of a page, it can be really uncomfortable because you can't support your wrist really. So what I like to do is I like to take a notepad that's about the same thickness as my notebook, and I put that down beside my notebook, as you can see here. And the great thing about that is it gives your wrist a little bit of support and elevation, so it's not as hard to draw. So that is how my March spread is looking so far. Super minimal, lots of white space, but that is how I like it. And we are just moving into the last spread of the month. This is my monthly habit tracker. I got some major inspiration for this spread from the lovely Shada Campbell over here on YouTube. So make sure to check her out if you want to see the original spread that she did. And I will link the video that she does that spread in the description bar if you do want to check it out, because it is quite a beautiful spread. And Shada's artwork in her channel is so beautiful and inspiring, so I do really recommend checking her out if you haven't already. I like to keep my habit tracker really simple and only record 6 habits: journaling, reading, working out, stretching, flossing, and then Shark Week, which if you know, you know. For each habit, I do a dot for every day of the month. And if I complete that habit that day, then I will highlight it with a marker of choice. I'm thinking this month it'll be a earthy green, but make sure to check out my Instagram where I do post daily, so I would probably post there once I start doing it in case you want to see. And then the best part about this habit tracker is this beautiful floral at the bottom. I don't know why, but it just looks so beautiful along with the habit tracker. It's just the perfect balance of white space and functionality and decoration, which I'm always like looking for that perfect balance between form and function, and it's really hard to find sometimes, but this spread just really gets it there, so I love that. And yeah, I'm just going ahead and drawing all of my leaves in. If you've been watching along for a little while, you might have noticed that I am not tracking my plant watering anymore in my habit tracker. And that's just because I've acquired quite the plant collection, and each plant seems to need water at different times. So instead of just tracking it once in my tracker, I find it's going to be a little easier if I write that down in my notes page and kind of record that separately so I can make sure I know when each specific plant is being watered. For example, my Pathos plant Lego Leaf, he needs a lot more water than my cactus Sam. So, you know, we want to make sure I don't kill any of my plants, so gotta make sure that I'm tracking that stuff. So that is it for the plan with me. I'm just slipping my notebook back into my cover and I'm gonna do a little flip through. Today we made a beautiful cover page which can be added to and grow along with the month, which is really fun. We have the vertical calendar to keep track of all those dates and appointments and meetings if you're in grad school like me. Then we have our task and our notes page to make sure we don't forget any important monthly to-dos or Toronto Maple Leafs hockey games, because gotta support the Leafs. And then we have finally our habit tracker to make sure that we are flossing daily, because everyone needs to be reminded to floss daily. So that was all for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.